Happy Monday! Today we're talking all about how to build momentum with a LinkedIn live show. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? We have been enjoying the milder Midwest winter season with some snows, but it's interspersed with some warmer weather. And it's like t-shirt weather when it's above 40 degrees. So my kids are really enjoying it after living in Hawaii for 4-ish years. It's really kind of nice and refreshing to be back and enjoying like the changing of the seasons. You forget about that. You take it for granted. And I know those of you who have been telling me, Mindy, it'll wear off. Yes, I know, but I'm enjoying the change at the moment. So now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on, you guessed it, Mondays, where I talk about all things LinkedIn profiles, promo, and pipeline, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post. Whether you're watching live or from the replay, leave your questions below because that's where all of these topics come from. I've been asked a lot recently about starting a LinkedIn live show, what that looks like. And so I turned it into a 3-part series, which is the third installment today. So do leave your feedback. I listen. I like to share content that you're interested in. Leave a comment below or shoot me a DM at any point in time. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. So, I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can either get that next opportunity, grow their business, or scale their impact. In this live, we're going to talk about how you can start building momentum with your LinkedIn live show over time so that you can start generating more opportunities and growing your business with the right people. So, this is going to be fun. We're going to do some slides, we're going to do some show and tell on LinkedIn. It's going to be an interactive session. So, get ready. All right, so let's start with some slides. I'm going to add these to the stream. So, we are talking about how to build that momentum with a LinkedIn live show. Now, if you didn't watch the first and second episode, go back and watch those. They're the last 2 Mondays, just before this one. One of them is how you can start a LinkedIn live show. The other one is 7 steps to launching a LinkedIn live show. So both of those are really important to kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about today. Why? Because they're a little bit more foundational. They'll help you wrap your mind around what content to include, the tech that you need to set up, how to create a content calendar, all of that good stuff. Today, we're going to talk about how you can kind of take it to the next level. So once you have a LinkedIn live show, what do you do next? What do you do over time to make it even better, to improve, to try things? Like I'm doing something different. I am doing slides. I usually don't do slides in lives. So how do you make it interesting for your viewers, for your followers? So in today's live, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can build momentum so that you can go from that best kept secret in your industry to becoming that sought after visible expert in your niche using live stream content. Now, if you're a little bit scared of live stream content, don't let it intimidate you. Watch the first episode in this series because we do a lot of mindsets. We do deal with some limiting beliefs. We talk about what it actually means to be a good live streamer, and you don't actually have to be like the person that's like, oh yeah, put the camera on me, taking selfies all the time. You can be as very sophisticated as you would like to be. You can have like an epic setup, or you can keep it casual. It really depends on your personality, on your brand, and on the people you want to attract to your business, to your live show. So we're going to talk about numbers. And a lot of people are like, oh, numbers, numbers. It's important to watch your numbers. Now, my first inclination is not to look at numbers. I go a lot by gut feel. Like I'm like, oh, how did that feel? How did that go? So it is very, very important for those of you who are a little more like me to pay attention to what's actually happening with your numbers because the numbers do tell a story. So it's important to look at these numbers, especially as you're getting started. Look at your numbers about once per week, especially at the beginning after every single show. You'll also want to look at them monthly. So at least monthly, but ideally once a week is good because then you'll get a sense for what people are actually paying attention to, what they're interested in. Usually it's not what you think. Usually the things that you think are going to just be amazing are not as amazing as you think they are. And the things you're like, well, I didn't think that one was going to take off, and it takes off. So you'd be surprised. So pay attention to your numbers. I'm going to show you what numbers to pay attention to as well. So you want to review to refine. What does that mean? Basically, at the beginning, you are setting a baseline for your content, for the types of things you're going to talk about. You're also kind of figuring out your style. You may try some experiments at the beginning because you're not exactly sure what you want to do or how you want it to come across, or, just all of these things are very foundational, and there's going to be a lot of experimentation. Once you get into a good rhythm, that's when you really want to start paying attention to your numbers. Now, at the beginning, you're probably paying attention to your numbers just to see what people actually like and pay attention to. As you're going, you're like, okay, now I can really refine and build on this, because all of that data that you are collecting, all of those numbers are telling a story. They're telling you what people want to know more about, but you have to be listening. If you are not listening, it's really easy to just get sidetracked or get frustrated or feel like nobody's paying attention. I'm just going to give up. Nobody's really cares what I post. And I feel like it's a waste of time. Look at your numbers, because when I look at my numbers, they're not as high as a lot of other people's numbers that are reporting them, at least. And that's okay. I don't really care. But what I do care about is what those numbers are telling me. Which topics are really resonating with people? What do people want to know more about? How can I help people? Where are my peers, the people that are other LinkedIn experts? Where are they not sharing content? Or where can I add a unique perspective and kind of enter the conversation? Because I don't want to be like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else, and that's okay. Sometimes you just really want to embrace your voice and you want to learn what people like. You also want to learn what unique voice and perspective you want to bring to your live stream content. So your numbers are going to help you, and they're kind of your guiding light. Like, okay, I know that when I share topics related to, you know, getting more leads, those tend to get a lot of views. Or when I share topics that are a little more dry, those don't get a lot of views, but they're important pieces of pillar content that I point to all the time. These are things that you need to understand for yourself, and it's going to be different for every single person. All right. So just keep that in mind. So, first number you want to pay attention to, your views. Okay. Pretty obvious, right? So, how many people are actually viewing your content? So, pay attention to the number of views for each show. So, after about 3 to 4 shows, after you've gone live about 3 to 4 times, you're going to have a benchmark number. You're kind of going to know what people and how many people are watching. Now, at the very beginning, it may be very, very tiny. So do not let that alarm you. Also, you don't want to look at your views right after you go live, because most of the time, I will just be honest here, a lot of the people do not watch live. They watch the live after the live. They watch the replay. So keep that in mind, especially if you're brand new and people don't know to show up at a certain time every week. You are not in their calendars quite yet. You've got to prove yourself. So just keep in mind, after 3 to 4 shows, you're going to have a benchmark number, but that benchmark is going to change over time. Now, you want to strive to increase the number of views, both live and in the replays, of course. So when you are live, if you're in something like StreamYard, I'm going live. You can look in the corner and you can see how many people are actually there during your live. It gives you a number. It's really easy to stare at that number and like, nobody's here. Nobody's here. Or only 2 people are here and start freaking out. So sometimes I actually don't like to watch that little ticker that's telling you how many people are live or watching. And a lot of times people will flit in, flit out, and you'll kind of notice that number fluctuating while you are live. The number that I really like to pay attention to, number of replays, like how many people are actually watching the live, either live or in the replay. That's really, really important overall. And I usually give it about a week before I even look at the number. So keep that in mind too. You don't want to gauge it on your number of people that are live, because at the very beginning, you're going to have like zero. Maybe your mom will come. Maybe your husband, my partner will sometimes jump in if he feels like, Mindy, this is going to be a tough one. Especially at the beginning, he would pop in, and it made me feel good because I see at least one person that was live. I'm like, I know he's watching from the other room, but it made me feel good. So just keep that in mind. You want to keep your motivation up. Number 2, comments. So most of your comments are going to come before or after the live stream. A lot of times they don't happen during the show. Now, you may be different. You may have a type of show where all of your people show up live and they talk, 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 talk in the comments. If that's your style and that's the type of show that you have, great. If you're sharing like solo content like I do, which is a little bit more informational, I don't ask people to pop in the comments while I'm talking and start engaging or commenting. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. So what I do, and if you've watched the other 2 episodes, I highly recommend go watch those other 2 that come before this one. I talk about the importance of actually creating an event. So on LinkedIn, when you schedule your LinkedIn Live, it's going to automatically create an event. That will create some buzz. That will also allow people to comment. So people can actually start commenting before you go live. That's really helpful because it starts getting you some traction. And also, if you put a good question in there and ask people for, like, do you have a LinkedIn live show? Like, that would be a question that I would ask, as a promo for this episode, because then that lets me know, oh, they do have live shows or they don't have live shows. So I need to steer my content accordingly. Sometimes you can get a little bit of input before you go live from your audience, which is really helpful. Always follow up with every comment. Okay. So you don't have to reply right then and there. But I like to tell people, like, this is how I do it. You don't have to do it like I do it. But I like to say I will comment after the live. So I don't even look at the stream of comments as they're coming in. If people are commenting while I'm live, I don't, I ignore that unless I'm doing a webinar. But otherwise, I ignore the comments and I deal with them afterwards. Now, a lot of times, if you have trouble, sometimes LinkedIn on desktop, it's gotten better, but sometimes on desktop, the comments will disappear or they won't work. So, what you may want to do is you may want to reply from a mobile device if you have trouble. Now, I have noticed it has gotten better over time. So, do keep that in mind, though. If you have any trouble commenting, sometimes with LinkedIn comments on live posts, they don't always work on a desktop, but they will work from a mobile device. So, just make sure to comment there if you have any trouble. Okay. Number 3, engagement. So, which engagement numbers are important? So, number of comments, that's kind of important to monitor. Do you actually have to tally it up every week? You can. If you really want to be strategic, that I think that's a really good idea. And then also keep in mind, like, the number of comments. Like, if you're commenting and responding to everybody, that's going to inflate the number of comments, actual comments on the post. So you may want to separate those out. A number of reactions. So number of reactions is when people hit the like, or the like, the thumbs up, the heart, the support. What other ones we have? Insightful, the celebrate. When they hit one of those, that's a reaction. So how many reactions did you get to your live content? How many shares? Now, a lot of times people do not share live stream content or reshare it, but you may get some. So do pay attention. If you get some, great. Also, direct messages. This is one that everyone overlooks. So they're all looking at the post itself, but they're not paying attention to the messages that happen afterwards as a result of that live. And when you actually start getting direct messages and people reaching out to you saying, hey, I watched that piece of content. I have a question about this. Or do you offer consulting? Or I have a client that might actually benefit from your services. That's where the magic happens. But nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about the direct messages. And it drives me bananas because a lot of like LinkedIn experts are like, oh, here's how to get engagement. Here's how. I'm like, no, 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 no. Skip all of that. Like, tell me how to get clients. Like, I want to do a live stream and get clients. I want to show up for my people and people who have been through my programs. I want them to feel inspired. I want them to still have a great customer experience after they've worked with me. So this is my intention with my live show. I'm like, yeah, the comments, reactions, shares, all of that's good. But really what matters is direct messages. It's really about like, how are you impacting people and getting them to reach out to you and want to work with you? So whatever the want to work with you signal is, for me, is direct messages. That's what kickstarts that process. That's usually where it starts on LinkedIn. So do pay attention to the direct messages, because a lot of times you will get a little bit of an influx after you go live, after you push out a really good piece of content. All right. Quality over quantity. So you want to make your content irresistible. If you put out, and I've talked about this before, if you put out fluffy content and you sound like everybody else out there, nobody's going to listen. They're just going to tune you out. Like, why waste time watching a live stream? Like, I think I'm looking at the timer. We're already at 14 minutes. Okay. So you've hung with me for 14 minutes, or you hopped in at some point in time and you're still watching. And that's because you're looking for quality. You don't care how long I go. You want good stuff. You're like, I actually want to learn something from this live stream. So you have to make your content really good. And that's going to take time. You're probably going to suck at the beginning. That's okay. Be patient with yourself, but quality over quantity. Over time, you should get better. So you want to make your content irresistible. You don't want to say the same things everybody else has said. You don't want to just sound like you're repeating the same soundtrack. You can repeat your own messages, though. This is something that I do pay attention to. In my content, I say a lot of the same stuff a bunch of different times in a bunch of different ways. That's important. I want people to understand like the themes of my content. But what I don't want to sound like is every other LinkedIn guru out there that's saying do X, Y, and Z. Here's how to hack the LinkedIn algorithm. Here's how, no, I'm about shifting perspective. I'm about, helping people actually get clients and actually engage with people and go deeper. This is not just about, I want to be popular. Look at me. Watch my live stream. Like, I could care less about that. So, really think about your content. You want your live stream content to be juicy. You want it to be really thought provoking. You want it to grab attention. So keep in mind that people will continue to show up if you always deliver quality. So I don't go live every day because I can't do high quality content every day. Once a week is very difficult. I will tell you, I've mentioned this in some of the others, but going live every single week is not at all easy. I have to carve out time. Sometimes I'm like kicking my kids out the side. You don't see what's going on around the perimeter of this, but sometimes it can be crazy. But you know what? I always, always, always show up for my weekly live stream. And that is a commitment that I want to make. So figure out what frequency you want to do and make sure that you can keep high enough quality for that frequency that you want to do. And if you find that it's too much, back it off. It's better to have it, fewer, like do 2 live streams per month than it is to do 4 live streams per month if you can have higher quality content. All right. So let's actually find your numbers. So I'm going to switch if I can talk, switch screens, and we are going to look at numbers on LinkedIn. Okay. So we are looking at a somewhat recent post. This is the first one, guys. How you can create a LinkedIn or how you can start a LinkedIn live show. So as you can see here, I have 186 impressions. If you want to see the analytics for this one in particular, you can see them here. Now you can see I had 68 views, 58 viewers, people viewed it for this many minutes, people viewing it live, 9. You can see their titles here. You can also see locations, companies. So you can see, am I the most popular live streamer? No, I am not. But I don't really care. For me, it's like here's where you can see the engagements. For me, it's about engaging deeper. There were a certain number of people that really wanted to know about live shows. Now, I know that's not the most popular topic, but why am I going deep? Because a number of people have asked me, people that follow my content, that actually like it and want to know the details. So that's when you are not playing the numbers game per se, but you are playing the game of really providing content to your audience. So now let's look at a few others here. Let's scroll on down. Actually, we're going to look at my featured section. I'll show you some others that are a little more popular over there. Okay, so let's view my profile. Let's scroll here and you can see, okay, that one's a popular one. Let's look at this one. This one was actually a webinar that I live streamed here. So you can see this is what a lot more popular live stream looks like. You can see that there are a number of attendees here. You can also see all of the comments over here on the side. You can also see the analytics. So if we want to go deeper into analytics, you can see that here. This is a better view. I actually like this view a little better than where we just were from our news feed. So you can see like, okay, total attendees, total unique event visits. You can also see like when people were paying attention and when people were watching. And you can see that over time. Obviously, there's going to be a spike when it was live or right before it was live, and then it's going to drop off over time. You can also see more analytics down here. So you can see it's beautiful. So if you really like to see the data, there are a lot of ways that you can actually look at the data on LinkedIn. You can also see the different companies and audience demographics. So all of this stuff is really fascinating if you want to go deeper. Now, kind of going back to what we were talking about with the importance of knowing your numbers and the importance of actually paying attention to what matters. Do I want to get obsessed with those metrics? Do I want to say, oh, well, I can't do LinkedIn live show topics because I'm not going to get as much traction? I mean, it really depends on what your goals are and what topics are going to resonate with your audience. What is your intention for that live show? Are you there to educate, to entertain, to inspire? What does your audience actually want? And you can change it up. Like I do topics that are popular, I do topics that aren't, but it doesn't really matter as long as I show up every single week. And the beauty of this too is if you want to have great pillar content, maybe it isn't like the most popular out of the gate, but you actually have that to point to. So if people come to me and say, Mindy, I want to start a LinkedIn live show, guess what? I've got 3 videos for them to watch with a handout so they can actually learn a lot more and get some really good information. So keep that in mind too. It's not necessarily always about the numbers, but the numbers do tell a story. Okay. So what do you do When you're like, Mindy, I feel like I'm in a good groove. I know how to live stream now. I think I want to take it to the next level. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. What could I play with when it comes to my LinkedIn live show? Okay, so 7 ways to experiment with your LinkedIn live. First of all, timing. Which time of day works best for your audience? This also will have something to do with the time zone that you're in. Now, for a long time, when I started live streaming, I was in Hawaii. So, Hawaii time is not Pacific time. Everyone thought it was Pacific time. It is not. It is like 2 hours, you know, what is it? 2 hours earlier. So, if it was 10 o'clock in Pacific time, it was 8 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii. So it was very, very challenging to find a good time for me where I was awake enough, my eyeballs, awake enough to do a live stream and actually catch people live. So I still had to do it pretty early in the morning for me. Now that I'm in the central time zone, it is so much easier. I feel like I can play with the time. Like if I need to change it an hour or so here or there, it's okay. So figure out what time of day works best, not just for your audience, but also for you. If you are trying to catch people around the world, one really good thing is to keep in mind Eastern time is a really good spot where you're going to catch a lot of people in the US. You're also going to catch a lot of people in Europe as long as you do it around midday. So, midday Eastern time is a really good time. Now, if your audience is based in Asia, then or Australia, then you're going to want to shift that based on when they are online, when they are awake, and during their work hours. Okay. All right, so time of day is something you can play with. You can also play with the days of the week that work best for your audience. So you can do it Monday through Friday. You can try the weekends. I wouldn't recommend it, but Monday through Friday tends to be better for most people. Think about your audience. For me, I like to do mine on Mondays. Why? Because then I'm done. Like on Monday, it's like by Monday at noon, I am finished. I have done my weekly content for the week and I am off to the races. I can focus on my clients the rest of the week. Other people like to put it in the middle of the week. Some people like to end the week and do something really fun on Friday. So, kind of think through your audience, when they actually tune in, when you're going to promote the content, how it fits into your content calendar, all of that good stuff. For me, Mondays with Mindy is like, okay, great. Everyone knows it's on Mondays, it's in the name. And it's also very, very easy for my workflow. And I'm usually much more motivated on Monday than I am on a different day during the week, especially the middle of the week. The middle of the week, I'm like, 100% focused on my clients. Okay, so number three, your background. So here are a bunch of different examples, but choose one that stands out in the newsfeed. Now, does mine stand out now? No, it does not. It used to. The one I had in Hawaii, that one was actually like very Hawaiian. I had like a surfboard. I had like the mango tree in the background. I used it all the time in my live stream, so that was one that stood out. Now, the what I am focused on now is I'm focused on really good lighting, and actually a background that doesn't stand out too much in the newsfeed. But what does stand out is my thumbnail. So I focus on creating a really, really good thumbnail that is very bright, that promotes my live before it goes live. So really think through what you want to do. Some people like to have a very busy background. When I was redesigning this office space, I thought about it too. My husband, he's like, we could build something really cool. We could put this and this and this. And we did. We started experimenting with some stuff in the background. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to take away from my content. I really just want it to be like soundproofed, So I have like the sticky pads, like you can get them on Amazon. Sticky pads that are like soundproofing to make the audio just a little bit better because I am in a big room. So at least two walls are covered in the soundproofing, which does help with the audio a bit. And then I don't detract from, the type of content that I'm sharing. It's like you're not going to look at my background or be staring at other things or get distracted. So really think through what you want to convey. I love epic backgrounds though. Like when somebody has a really cool background, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. So think through the background that actually fits your content, where you are, and what you want to communicate. All right, number four, show title. So you want something that grabs attention and piques people's curiosity. There are some examples there that you can see on that slide. And this is really, really helpful because when you are planning out your shows, you want to have a title that people can actually go, oh, I know what they're talking about, or that's actually interesting. What you don't want to have is something that is like really boring where people are like rolling their eyes, or this is episode number 59 in a series on, content development. That sounds like horribly boring. So, 5 tips to X, Y, or Z, or how to. I love how to. Like, I like how to content. Anything like that is really, really helpful because it lets people know exactly what you're talking about. So, I say how to in probably half of my LinkedIn live shows. This one is how to build momentum with a LinkedIn live show. So you're thinking in terms of search, what people are looking for, and then also definitely want to nail the type of content. You definitely don't want to trick people either and use a really clever title and not actually talk about whatever is in the title. So do be thoughtful about the titles that you choose. Number 5, schedule. So write a great event preview teaser that engages, because this actually, like I mentioned earlier, when you are scheduling your posts, your LinkedIn live shows in advance, LinkedIn creates an event. In that event, you can see like the copy there. You can actually put a description and you can put all kinds of great copy there. You can also create a nice thumbnail, which is what I do like. That's what I do want to stand out in the newsfeed and have some bright colors in that thumbnail because I want people to come to the live. So really think through how you're going to promote the event. I like to write this great event preview teaser and share it about 3 days before I go live. So every single Friday, I have a teaser that says show up on Monday because I'm going to be doing this show. And then you know what? It also gives you 2 pieces of content because the teaser content is going out on a Friday, and then I have the actual live stream going out on a Monday, and then the live stream, I repurpose that live stream and turn it into a LinkedIn newsletter that goes out on a Tuesday. So with one piece of content, I get 3 posts and they all flow seamlessly. So keep that in mind too. LinkedIn live shows can really help you kind of streamline the content. And I don't have to post every day and try to think up something really brilliant to say every single day, just once per week. Okay. Number 6, thumbnail. I kind of talked about this already, but try various thumbnails to add variety or personality. So you can see some thumbnails. Some of these I'm like, I wouldn't use those again. Some of these I'm like, yeah, I kind of have played with these over time. This is just a selection of thumbnails. I play with mine and I like to use Canva. So canva.com. It is free, or you can have the paid version. I have the paid version because I like to do cool little things with my background and do the background erase, and you have to have the paid version to do that, but it is so worth it. So on Canva, you can get YouTube thumbnails. Just type that into the top of Canva and it'll pop up a lot of options and play with them. See which ones you like. You can change them over time. Like for me, I put in my brand colors so I can use the same colors, but still use their other themes and stuff and just kind of replace them with my colors. But think about bright. You can see some of them are brighter than others, and some of them you're like, yeah, it kind of like blends into the background. When it comes to thumbnails, ideally, you don't want like, if you're doing a LinkedIn live show, you don't want that same LinkedIn live blue. Like you don't want the LinkedIn blue as part of your thumbnail. You want to have some accent colors in there. Otherwise, it'll just kind of blend into the newsfeed. So do keep that in mind. You want some nice bright colors and go with your brand colors if you have them and try some. A lot of times people will settle on one type of thumbnail and stick with that same exact version of the thumbnail for a very long period of time. That's fine. Like once you figure out what works for you, you can stick with that thumbnail. I like to change mine up. I have about a half dozen that I kind of cycle through. And you will see them. You're like, oh, that's one version. But a lot of times you can play with these and see what you like, what you settle on. There's no right or wrong here. Tag people. All right, so number 7, tag people and do this in a way that is tactful, that is insightful, that is helpful. So you can mention any friendlies who would be interested in the topic. So if, for example, somebody reached out to me and said, Mindy, can you please do a topic on, like, for example, a recent example, somebody asked for a topic on LinkedIn security and what they could do to protect their LinkedIn account. So guess what? As soon as that episode was going up, I said, hey, your episode is going up. I sent them a DM. I also make sure to tag them. There was some back and forth in the comments, so that's one way to really pull in your audience and let them know that they are seen, that they are heard, that you are creating content for them because they asked. So this is one way that you can really engage your audience. So when you get requests for content, take a screenshot of it, save it, create a piece of content. And when that content is coming out, tag that person or send a DM and let that person know. That will also drive visibility because they're going to be excited because you picked their piece of content. And a lot of times they will share it with their audience, say, guess what? So-and-so is doing my piece of content this week. So keep that in mind. It can be really, really fun way to engage your audience. All right, so wrapping this all up in a pretty package. All right, so you are going to create your live show idea. If you want to figure out how to do that, watch the first episode of the series. That will help you figure out your LinkedIn live show, how to name it, all of that good stuff. Then episode number 2, we talked about getting a very simple live stream setup. So basic lights, technology, which tools to use. So make sure to watch episode 2 for that. And then you want to set up your live show. So you actually want to get it all set up and you want to go live. So go live on LinkedIn 3 to 4 times. And then you want to come back to this episode that we just talked about today to pay attention to your analytics, to refine, to really figure out what you want to do next to take your show to the next level. So that's it for this week. We talked about a lot of live stuff. So leave your questions or comments below. I will answer them either after the show or I'll shoot you a DM if you want to have the conversation over there. But what questions, comments, pieces of feedback do you have about doing a live show? And keep in mind, if you don't want to do it on LinkedIn, you can also apply the same formula to YouTube or Facebook. I also stream this same exact live show to those other channels too. So you can watch it in multiple places and still just stream from one spot. So keep that in mind as well. You can make this a multi-channel sort of thing. All right, I will see you all next week. Have a beautiful rest of your week and bye for now.